So, hello everyone from the sunny Germany. My name is David from Goethe University Frankfurt, and I'm very happy to present virtually my paper co-authored with Sebastian Papp and Kai Rannberg with the title Explaining the Technology Use Behavior of Privacy Enhancing Technologies, the case of Tor and John Denume. We have the following agenda for the talk today. I will start with a quick introduction to the topic, provide you theoretical background on how Tor and John Denume work and what the economical differences are. Then we continue with our used methodology, which is a mixed method approach. In the next step, I present you the results, and then we conclude with a discussion and conclusion. So what is the initial situation currently? So we have a very nice quote here from Perry Barlow, an American essayist and poet. He says that the internet is the most liberating tool for humanity ever invented and also the best for surveillance. It's not one or the other, it's both. And I think that's pretty much on the point here. So we have a situation where individuals need protection when they are moving on the internet. And there are basically two things that can protect people. We have, on the one hand, privacy protection by law. For example, in Europe, we have the General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR, which protects certain behaviors of companies regarding processing and collecting of data. And we have this large stream, basically, of technologies that help people to protect themselves. And among these tools are PETs, so privacy enhancing technologies. And basically, our goal is to enable users to use these tools with less effort as before. So if we are looking at PETs, we have basically oftentimes primary goals and secondary goals if you look at the user. So for example, there are PETs like anonymous credentials, privacy ABCs, where the primary goal is to provide credentials to a certain, to provide the credential of the individual to a certain service. And the secondary goal while doing this is protecting the privacy or enabling the anonymity. However, our research objects, Tor and John Denume, are some kind of other class. So we called it standalone PETs because they have basically multiple use scenarios that you can imagine. So the differentiation between primary and secondary goal is not that solid. So we basically said, okay, the primary goal of these technologies is protecting the privacy of the individual. This is important at the later stage, which you will see when developing the constructs and formulating the exact questions that you ask people. So we focus on the latter, on Tor and John Denume. And if you now look at Tor and John Denume, doesn't matter, also at other PETs, you always have two very big problems, in my opinion. So the first one is related to privacy in general. So privacy is a very abstract term, and people oftentimes don't really care about privacy or have problems with it because the short-term benefits of doing something that is not beneficial for their privacy are oftentimes way bigger than the short-term risks or consequences. It's like smoking here at some point. So the immediate result of using a PET is oftentimes not visible, especially since computer scientists and developers of such PETs try to design the PETs in a way that the use of the PETs is not visible. That's the best PET if you don't perceive any decrease of performance or stuff like that. This is in contrast to other systems like games where you have immediate feedback, where you get immediate rewards, or Excel, for example, where you can see, okay, these numbers fit together and I can calculate something. The second part is that the technical functioning is quite complex. So layman users have very hard problems of understanding what happens there. Thus, they cannot really evaluate to what extent the pet is fulfilling its promises. And therefore, we were wondering, okay, which aspects influence use intentions and behaviors. And in the first step, we asked active users of pets with the following goal. So we did a quantitative analysis with known acceptance factors, since we wanted to have a solid theoretical starting point. And we augmented these factors with factors where we thought, okay, these might be relevant for pets, namely perceived anonymity and trust. We will go into detail later. And then we had our results from our quantitative analysis and analyzed answers to open questions from our online survey in a qualitative fashion in order to develop new variables, in order to find out new concepts relevant for future work, maybe. So before we go into the results and into the method, just quickly, because it's important later on for understanding also the results better. How does Tor function? How does Jononym function? So Tor, I think you know how it works. Everyone can operate such a relay, such a node. It's donation based, and it's based on this onion routing concept. It's free to use, and it's, I would argue, the largest pet at the moment with 2 million active users. And so we have this technical side, which is based on this mixed networks, onion routing, and the business side, which is that it's donation based and free to use. If we look at Jononym, so Jondos, the company developing this tool or operating this tool at the moment, was in our project, and they are basically now a commercial service. They were also developed in a university, but transitioned to a commercial service with different pricing schemes. There is a free to use option, but with very limited bandwidth. And this is the business side. The technical side is that it's, unlike Tor, based on mixed cascades. So users can choose which mixed cascades they want their data to transfer over. And then they have, for example, free servers and over which their data is transferred. So this is the broad overview, and to our method. So all our constructs in our questionnaire were adapted from prior literature in order to have valid and reliable measures of what we want to know. And we distributed the survey to English-speaking and also German-speaking people, because we wanted to have as many people as possible, especially for Tor. This was very, very difficult because apparently the Tor crowd is very hard to get access to. We had a diverse set of channels where we posted the link to the survey. We also didn't compensate them for participating. We just said, hey, this survey will be used to improve the service. So we also, of course, gave the results to Jondos to improve the Jononym service, and also I sent the results to the Tor project. And yeah, so we had our constructs were also translated with certified translators, so that this gap between German and English survey, the potential gap, is not so bad. So our sample size is 141 for John Newman, 124 for Tor. So in sum, we had 265 active users of pets in our sample. And our model looks basically like this. We have at the bottom, you see the classical technology acceptance model factors from past literature, which is perceived usefulness, perceived ease of use, and behavioral intention, and use behavior. And at the top part, you see perceived anonymity and trust in the pet, which are these newly added variables. And I will only focus now on these two and the corresponding hypothesis, because I think it's the most interesting one. So perceived anonymity has two relations. We hypothesized that on the one hand, perceived anonymity has a positive effect on trust. So we inserted this construct because, as I said earlier, anonymity is not really tangible. So people might have difficulties in judging the technology. Thus, the perception matters. Do I perceive that a pet fulfills its purpose, providing anonymity? And if I think so, then I trust it more. And the same holds for the usefulness. So as I said earlier, we had this differentiation between primary and secondary goals. And it comes basically, and you see the result here. So we formulated perceived usefulness as perceived usefulness of pets to protect individuals' privacies, users' privacy. So here we argue, okay, if people think that anonymity is given, then that will have an effect on the perceived usefulness. Sure, because anonymity is the primary purpose, and it should have a positive effect on the usefulness. Trust has three relations. So trust in the service has a positive effect on intention, of course. This is a known relation from the literature also. And the second one is related to perceived usefulness again. There we can see that if users trust a technical system, then they also perceive it as useful. This is known from literature, and we said, okay, this is also holding for our case of pets. The third one is trust in the pet has a positive effect on the perceived ease of use. This is based on also prior literature, which finds that the more people trust something, the less they need to understand every detail of how the technology functions, which is especially relevant for pets, of course, with high technical complexity. So for our results, we did all kind of tests. Our results were valid and reliable. We needed to do so many statistical tests because otherwise our results would not be interpretable like this. And it's also very urgently needed due to a rather small sample size. And we found that everything was okay. So we can conclude with the results. Here's the model again, and I underlined a few relevant results. We can see that basically all of our hypotheses could be confirmed. We can also see that perceived anonymity and trust in the pet have indeed the effects on the other variables as hypothesized. Trust in the pet has the largest effect size relative to the other two constructs on behavioral intention. So you can see the three arrows leading to behavioral intention from trust, perceived usefulness, and perceived ease of use. And of those three, trust in the pet is the most important one. What is also very interesting with this rather parsimonious model, we could achieve an R-squared value, so the explained variance of behavioral intention is roughly half. So we could explain half of the variance in behavioral intention. And yeah, this is a pretty good result. Then we come to the qualitative part, where we had these 5 questions. Due to time constraints, I don't want to go into detail. However, these are very general questions, and we saw very interesting answers to it. So we went into a lot of effort and coded them with 2 independent coders. And basically what we did is, in the first step, we coded very close to the data. And then we summarized these codes to so-called sub-concepts. And then in a third step, we summarized these sub-concepts to concepts. And this is what you have here. You can basically start reading the table from left to the right. So on the left side concepts, you have this broad overview, concepts, statements about technical issues, beliefs and perceptions, and economical issues. And then the sub-concepts, and then the codes that are very close to the text, to the answers of the participants. One time summarized, common to both PETs, and one time we divided them. So specific sub-concepts for Tor and for Jononym. So for example, you could see that the PET design, first line, there are differences for Tor and Jononym in a way that for Tor, people have concerns about malicious exit nodes, and for Jononym, they're concerned about the location of mix cascades. So for example, if all parts of the mix cascades are in one country, some agencies could request from a judge access to them, and then you could be de-anonymized. Very interesting is compatibility, so something that should be considered also for future work, in my opinion. Accessibility of websites was oftentimes mentioned. And yeah, also anonymity as a part of beliefs and perceptions. Here we have the concern of Jononym users related to size of the user base. So exactly this anonymity set is a problem, especially for smaller PETs like Jononym. And then we have social consequences, very interesting. So for example, beliefs about social effects that people mentioned when using Tor. So something people think they're doing something very shady there. And yeah, based on this, I think one can do a lot of nice stuff. Due to time constraints, I will now continue with our discussion and conclusion. So limitations quickly. First thing is the sample size. As I said, it's not that large, but still we did all the tests and it still was okay. There we have self-reported biases common to all user studies, basically. The translation could have been in point of error. However, we did all to avoid it. And the sample is biased by default since it includes only active users, so no non-users. And we didn't control for former control, for former use of standalone PETs for comparable ones. So future work basically follows this limitations part and the qualitative analysis. So first thing, we can use now these qualitative concepts we found and operationalize them for quantitative studies, or also for further qualitative studies. Qualitative studies, especially when asking layman users, which is now the second point here. So analyze perceptions of non-users is very important. However, if reviewers tell you, yeah, well, you only ask active users, ask non-users, it's pretty hard to find those people. So for PETs, finding 500 people who didn't use PETs but know about them somehow, it's very difficult. However, this is the thing that we should target now. And we have now worked out several interesting facts. We showed that the basic acceptance factors for PETs hold true. We showed that our 2 variables that we added are very, very relevant. They explain the variance of behavioral intention increased by 11 percentage points, which is a lot. And our new concepts like the social aspects, the concerns about the user base could be really, really interesting for future work and should be included in every analysis there. So I think this is my part now. I wish you a nice conference and all the best. Thank you.